Welcome, disciples of the internet, to the sequel to a video I made about 18 months ago. In the last Punch-Out game for the Nintendo Wii, come on Nintendo, we haven't got a new Punch-Out game since 2008. After you win the World Circuit, you are given the chance to defend your title against all the game's previous fights buffed up to be World Circuit difficulty and beyond. And just like the previous video, I'm going to play these fights blindfolded, going over my personal strategies while showing clips from the actual blindfolded attempts with the real TheJellySage, who has now ascended to physical form and will show up to your house if you haven't subscribed. On the note of subscription, at the time of writing this script, only 19.7% of recent watch time has come from subscribers, so make sure to subscribe and toll the notification bell for even more jelly-infused content. And if you wish to go any further, you can give a contribution by the thanks button or join the channel for various jelly-themed perks. Glass Joe. As a weird rule in the WVBA, once you lose 100 fights, you are given protective headgear. So now how are we supposed to fight the guy who structured his whole personality around having a glass jaw? Well, we already have to resort to star punches, which have transferred from useful to contender to necessary in title defense. When hit with the star punch, Joe's headgear will fly off his face, letting you get some face punches, and after 4 face taps, his headgear will turn yellow, indicating that a body blow will give you a star, and you can repeat this cycle of pain endlessly. However, getting a star in the first place is a very big problem blind, as most stars are gained through countering mid-attack, which is very difficult without visual cues. Thankfully, Glass Joe always taunts at the beginning of this fight, allowing you to stunlock him with an alternating 5-4-5-4 face jab combo that should net you a star just as you knock him down, granting you a second free KO. And for the third knockdown of the fight, simply survive until he does his special taunt, where you can hit him right as he goes back to center position for a relatively simple TKO. Kaiser. While he hasn't gotten over his traumatic fear of children, he has become a bit of a jokester, a bit of a prankster.
You got something on your shirt right there. Oh, stop.
His normal uppercut and delayed uppercut have a fake-out version where Kaiser will simply stand there and taunt you. This trick relies on the player seeing Kaiser's model change position, so it's one of those rare fleeting title defense moments of free stars. Another quirk of his is occasionally if you try to hit him while he's not in a stun, he will duck down and laugh at you. And if you punch him in the face again, that's just another free star. Already things are not looking good for Kaiser here. But once you knock him down once, things will get interesting with this newfangled spin jitsu attack that can instantly knock you down. He will always start attacking to the left and alternate after every time you KO him, but if he decides to do it in the middle of a round, you might as well pray. Just make sure to clean his clock before he gets too many chances to use his special attack. Disco Kid. For the first and only new character introduced in Punch-Out Wii, how do they fare in blindfolded title defense? Spoiler, not well for his prostodontist. Just like the contender version of his fight, Disco Kid likes to taunt quite a bit, giving you quite a couple easy star opportunities. However, once he is downed once, if you mess up the taunt star timing, you can get hit with his Disco Flurry 3-jab combo. But even without visual cues, you can wait for the signature gleam sound effect of his teeth to reliably get stars. And due to his personality, quite literally all of his attacks have a voice line attached to them. So just dodge like normal until he's out cold at the end of the first or beginning of the second round. King Hippo. Not only does King Hippo have an infinite weight advantage against flyweight Little Mac, but the WVBA let him bring in a manhole cover as body armor. Thankfully, knocking off the manhole cover is one of the easier parts of this fight. Hippo will start with a regular overhead attack, and if you punch him in the mouth, you can knock the first layer of tape off, interrupt his second attack with a face punch, and then alternate with a face punch from the other side so you can rip the second layer of tape off. For the final layer, you just have to dodge the new version of his Hippo ear clap attack where he throws an overhead punch before you can stun him. After the cover is off, the fight proceeds until you can knock Hippo down once, which is always a guaranteed KO. However, as Doc notes, Hippo doesn't always keep his mouth open, which means you don't get any stun for countering, and there is no screaming audio cue, which makes it near impossible to dodge these attacks. So if King Hippo has stayed still for a bit, just dodge and cope. Piston Hondo. Props to Hondo for actually training for his title defense fight instead of using body armor or doping, but legitimately training by outrunning a bullet train. Not even a real Honda can do that. Hondo is a whole lot more patient this time around, with the whole gimmick of this fight being that each uppercut is delayed an obscene amount as Hondo shimmies across the floor. But it's quite hard to be fooled by movement when you're totally blind, so just wait for him to do one of his 2 attack yells and you can dodge to either side. Title defense Hondo also starts the fight off with bowing towards us, and the first time you can get a start star off this, but every time after that he's just baiting you for a quick jab. So just stand there. Don't do anything. The setup for Hondo's signature move, the Hondo Rush, is a bit faster, and even if you hit it and you aren't perfect with your timing, you will just get a star. If you miss any of these counters, block as many times in a row as you can until he throws his uppercut at the end of his combo. But in order to do more damage beyond the single star we get at the beginning, you can get a couple extra shots off with alternating punches at the end of every stun. Just keep up that little extra bit of damage till he's knocked down about 5 times. Bear Hugger. Now get ready for a massive leap in difficulty, as star punches were soft required in Glass Joe's tile defense bout, but they are now medium required in order to do any sort of impactful damage in this fight, because Bear Hugger now has brought a Canadian squirrel to help him only take 2 hits every time he's stunned. I don't know how that works. Why didn't he just bring the bear?
Bear fight?
However, if you hit him with a 1 or 2 star punch, he'll be stunned for much longer, and a 3-star punch is always a free knockdown. However, getting counters on attacks, even if they have voice lines attached to them, is really hard, so we will have to utilize taunts. Sadly, at the start of this fight, the only taunt he has is the hat trick taunt, so we at least have to get in a couple of counters. The best strategy that worked for me was to get the first star from the taunt, the second from the bear hug attack by waiting for the G sound and hug, and the third from his I'm gonna stump ya attack by waiting for him to say the word you. After you knock him down once, he has new delayed versions of all of his attacks, but what's more important is that he has 2 new taunts. Each variations of his need a hug and catch and release ear claps, where the squirrel will make a little noise, and when the punch actually comes, Bear Hugger will just laugh at you. So if you listen for the little squirrel audio cue, you can punch him right after you hear his boot hit the ground for even more free stars. Now just continue the fight relying on these quote-unquote free stars to knock him down in the 2 to 3 round range, and you could easily win by decision without using stars, but that's lame. Great Tiger. Dude studied magic his whole life only to become the living embodiment of a Simon Says toy. Anyways, this fight is big on visual cues, which each of the 4 colors Tiger's gem can flash, correlating with a certain attack. Red for a basic jab, blue for a fast uppercut, green for delayed uppercut, and white for his newfangled ear clap. All of these flashes have a slightly different pitch, but when he starts to do combos of 4-ish flashes in a row, it's nearly impossible to discern one attack sound from another. Thankfully, we can end this fight with 1 knockdown, right in round 1. All you need to do for setup is survive till Tiger's first Mirage Dance with 1 star, in which he will send out 3 clones, intercept them with a left-right-left gut punch pattern. I usually punch earlier than I think I need to, and it usually works. If you hit all 3 counters, then duck under his spinning attack, you can hit him with a star punch, doesn't matter what level, and he just dies. He even disappears at the end, unlike his contender animation. Maybe Tiger died during our first fight, and this form is actually his ghost, seeking revenge. Don Flamenco. As the Punch-Out wiki states, Don has 10 different attacks that he will utilize throughout the fight. Oof. And later on in the fight, once you knock off his toupee, he will just throw these out at random, so you can't even have a panic attack on your own terms. Oof. Again. However, if you know a decent amount of information about Punch-Out Wii, you know that contender Don Flamenco has an infinite combo, just like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, where you can consistently hit him with an alternating face punch gut punch combo forever. But just because Don changed his hair doesn't mean he is immune to the infinite. It just got more complicated. You still have to alternate which side you are hitting Don from, but the pattern is now 2 jabs followed by a gut punch, or you can think about it like this. And once Don enters his enraged form, you can't stun him, but he is still susceptible to the infinite. Just dodge his Toro fast uppercut once he gets up, then you should be good until he's knocked down again, unless you mess up the infinite. But in that case, you can always just do it again. Aran Ryan. As if stuffing his boxing gloves with horseshoes wasn't enough, Ryan has now fashioned his old purple boxing gloves into a makeshift flail that does significant damage, implying that he definitely shoves something under that glove. If Ireland didn't have such strict firearm laws, he definitely would have brought a Taxi Driver-esque quick draw device into the ring. In order to do consistent damage in Ryan's tile defense fight, you still have to counter, but you also have to dodge a second new attack after the counter. All of these attacks do have a voice line attached to them, or a sound effect when Ryan bonks his head twice or lines up his center punch, except the attack where he swipes from the left doesn't really get anything to prepare you to dodge, so you just gotta guess. As the fight progresses, Ryan's counterattack to your counterattack becomes even more complex as he begins to throw in elbows and delayed elbows and counter headbutts. Cool. But just like Great Tiger, there is a way to end this fight early. And also like Great Tiger, we need a star for after they finish their special move. I found the most reliable way to get a star is to just block Ryan's first headbutt and punch him directly afterwards. Then just keep on surviving with the star until he brings out the flail. Then dodges 2 swipes by ducking, then dodging to the side. Then once you land your last hit on him, he will try to attack you as he's going down. Hit him with a star punch as his weapon is extended to end the fight right there. The problem is that this trick is very difficult to do blindfolded. I tried to quickly count to 8 then punch, but even so things just wouldn't go my way, making this fight the one I was genuinely the most excited to finish while recording.
Yes! Oh!
Soda Popinski. This is actually just the plot of Rocky 4. And the doped drinkables that Soda brings into this fight don't necessarily let him do more damage, but they do let him stay angrier for longer. What's the solution to this problem? Just don't get hit. That's quite literally how this fight is designed. Every time you dodge an attack correctly and get a stun, the stun lasts 1 punch longer than the previous stun. And this stacks all throughout the round as long as you don't get hit. So if you don't get hit by the end of the round, you can fit in 15 punches in 1 stun. And thankfully there isn't much randomization in this fight, so I just wrote down the punches you have to deal with in round 1. And by the end the stuns are so plentiful that you can easily TKO him and you don't even really have to use star punches. One thing that is random, however, is his taunt where he tries to pop a potable perk mid-game, and if he succeeds he gets a massive health boost, so you have to knock the bottle out of his hand. The side he goes to is random, however, so you'll just have to punch both sides and hope that you luck into the right timing. Each time you knock a bottle out of his hand or every time he gets back up, he'll do a rush of uppercuts, but the number of punches is a little random each time, but does increase the more times you knock him down. Just wait for Soda to say what or until he makes a confused sound effect to know that he's done and can't be stunned. Also, the legitimately hardest part of this fight is his normal uppercut, which has a sound effect, but by the time you hear it, you're already gone. So just try to preemptively dodge. Bald Bull. Star punches have now gone from soft required to medium required to just required. You physically cannot knock Bald Bull down with normal punches. He will just get back up and heal a third of his health bar. So we at least need a couple stars, and if you remember from Bear Hugger, counters are really hard, but thankfully there's a way around this. After every attack Bull throws, you can alternate face punches afterwards to maybe get a star, and I say maybe because these might just be the strictest stars in the game in terms of timing. I've played this fight so many times and I still can't tell you what I did differently when I get a star from this. But that's okay since there's another source of stars with his taunt, which he only uses once he gets back up from a failed knockdown. But since he only does this once after getting back up, you can just keep bullying him into getting back up until you get 3 stars, which was what I had to do in my recorded winning attempt. Then once you get 3 stars, you can just wait there, just don't do anything and don't get hit. Then eventually he will start with his first bull charge. However, since he's much faster this time around, starting the triple star uppercut as soon as you hear the smoke leave his nostrils is actually a very consistent way to get an instant knockout. Unlike Aran Ryan, I'm glad he's having a seizure. Super Macho Man. Now for my personal document where I listed everything I needed to remember for fighting each of the title defense fights blindfolded, I just didn't write down anything for Macho Man. This fight is most definitely the easiest in the World Circuit. Well, I guess it's not technically the World Circuit, the game calls it World S. Back to Macho himself, unlike Soda or Bull, he is very vocal about each of his attacks.
Say the line!
Macho Man.
Release the focus!
So as long as you know which voice line correlates to which attack, you should be fine. Also, one of his most common attacks, his Hang 10 attack, gives you a star via alternating face punches, and it doesn't even rely on ludicrous timing. So with that many free stars, ending the fight in the first round is quite viable. The only threat is his triple deluxe Super Macho Man clothesline spin, but even if you mess up the timing and get knocked down, that's probably the only time you'll have to deal with it in the entire round. Mr. Sandman. Now, the blink uppercuts are a bit of an issue, since they are in fact truly random. You have to dodge a specific way, and while Sandman alternates sides after each uppercut, you don't have any clue about which side he's going to start out with. These attacks also do a strong third of your health bar. Thankfully, you only have to deal with these once you or Sandman get knocked down or at the start of a round. These blinks can be countered for a star, but the timing is insanely strict. If you miss the timing, he just punches you anyway, and if you don't punch the right side, you don't even get a star. Sandman is quite the varied moveset, with half of his punches being delayed and the other half just being the fastest in the game. His overhead punch has a little noise sting behind it, but his right hook is a whole lot trickier in my opinion. The first time he uses this move is after his first standstill attack, but after that, good luck. Speaking of this attack, it's one of the few you can get an easy-ish star from. If you get one, save it for his Dreamland Express. Every time he uses this move just before he's about to throw 3 uppercuts in a row, there's a chance he'll yell "boo" at Little Mac. He might even do it twice. And if you hit him while he's taunting, that's an instant knockdown right there. And I like to get one of these instant knockdowns at least once in the first round. However, it is still random whether he will do this or not, so if he doesn't, you should just restart now. But if you get 2 knockdowns in round 1, he'll get back up with very little health because he's in last phase mode. At least for me, this is about where round 2 would start. Survive his initial blink uppercut and knock him down fast because he has barely any health. Then once he gets up for the 4th time, he will once again be in last phase mode. In this final desperation attempt, Sandman will throw a volley of blink uppercuts, but luckily for us, we have a pattern. And once he's tired, you get the ultimate stun, with the game just giving you stars for free because it knows it's got nothing left to throw at you.
Woo-wee, Mac! You completed a challenge. Now that wasn't so hard, was it?
And that's both campaigns of Punch-Out for the Nintendo Wii beaten Blindfolded. If you're curious, here's my personal ranking of each tile defense fight from easiest to hardest. And if you want to see me play more games blindfolded, or you just want to see more jelly-soaked sleep paralysis demon fuel, stick around. And in membership terms, starting at the Jelly Council tier, we have Matt Kurtzals,